All right, folks, welcome to a market recap. Today was bank holiday. Today we did have a setup, but the setup got tapped at the wrong time, so I did not proceed to execute a setup. But it was a pretty good day. Market didn't reflect out of the setup, and it did push down. But it just because of the time, right? The time it got tapped wasn't the time I trade, so I didn't take it. The only time I usually take a setup outside my kill zone between 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. is if it's in deep OTE or if it's a double purge. The double purge needs to survive until the next day. Then the next day I enter. If it gets tapped before the next day, I still have to wait till the next day. Then eventually the next day, if he pulls back up all over there, I could take it, right? Or down there, I could take it. And the other way, I could take a trade that's outside the time is if it's a London move, then I could proceed to take it outside of the time I'm trading. Otherwise, I would need to get it. Otherwise, I would need it to be at a specific time. So DXY, we had SMT here as well with the quality asset. We had the SMT with DXY as well as SMT with the GU, right? We had SMT, that's why the party worked out as well. Had this big ass SMT with this big CRT candle, and that's what we had. We had another CRT with the weekly CRT high, a daily CRT high. Now, before we talk about that, we didn't have a CRT that with our counter range, but if you go to the higher time frame, to the daily time frame, our daily bias and narrative was overall bearish. We had a daily CRT downside, a daily ERL to IRL, another daily SMT CRT to the downside. As well, if you go to quality asset with GU has a daily IRL to ERL, which means this low is highly going to go back. This low is probably going to go right back down there, right? So now going back to EU. In EU, what we had here was that we had a classic expansion profile, one to the downside, Tuesday high of the week, as well as we had a close below equals over prices. But today was Friday, so market is high likely gonna close in a price where it's not gonna favor anybody. So now go down to lower time frame for the market context and narrative. We had a daily range, super low, super high, low, stable, high, premium, discount, premium daily range. We're gonna sell off as well in premium. So as well, the premium daily got taps when the daily range low. As well, we have ranges. We have range with SMT high. We have ranges here. Our first range is right over here. Range high, range low. Here's the range high. Daily CRT high, here's the range low. Daily CRT low. We have SMT with the range high, as well as we have another purge, range high, range low. But this one doesn't tell the actual range because there's no actual boss liquidity. We could say potentially this boss liquidity, right? Boss liquidity, sets of liquidity, range high, range low. That right there is our range high, range low. Range high got purged, another range low, etc., etc. As well as we have a higher time frame. Keep in mind of the weekly CRT low, which was, I'm pretty sure, all the way down here, weekly CRT high. So the weekly CRT did get respected. This is our weekly model 1. This is our 4 model 1 for the weekly time frame. Now, on the lower time frame, what was our big CRT? Well, our overall big CRT with this candle, but if the market goes up, it makes a new high, and if it does that, I'm not going to count it as it being on this CRT because this high didn't get taken out, right? So this is the first scan I had SMT with this candle. So till then, I'm looking for the smaller range, right? So our smaller range was overall, we had 2 smaller ranges. This is our big range, another big range, and another smaller, bigger range. And eventually, the smallest range here, right? This range was still respected. So our biggest range was overall, our smaller range was here. This is the range we used to execute. So on this range, we're looking to use this range to execute to the bigger range, which is this right all the way down here, as well as we go to the lower time frame. Now, on the lower time frame, we're looking for a purge between 6 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. 10:30 is right over here. So between that time, we didn't have the right time of purge. We had a purge around 10 a.m. as well as at the CRT high up to 5 a.m. We did have that high. So all I was looking for is the right model one. Right over here, we have the right model one right over here, which is the full candle closure. After that, all I was looking for is a resistance block entry, which we did get a resistance block entry here, which is very nice. Again, eventually we could have entered short, but the time it got tapped was around 11 a.m. Right? So, and as I said before, the only time I bypass my time is if it's a deep OTE at the higher time frame at the 0.86 mark at the 4-hour time frame OTE, or if it's a London session move, or if it's a double purge, so market push up to high, push up to low, then if it goes back to high, then I can eventually take a short. But for the double purge, the trade, I can only enter the trade the next day. So if I get that trade entry before 11 a.m. and it's a double purge, I'm not gonna execute it until the next day because I need the market to show me strong signs of it getting respected until the next day. The next day, if it goes taps out again, then I can take another short and short it down. Otherwise, I cannot bypass the time. So that was the overall why I didn't take the trade. And if you go down here, we had a 4-hour to the downside. Since today we're following the high temperature liquidity, which is the weekly CRT. Since it's Friday, we want to go for a realistic take profit, and we're following the higher temperature liquidity, which is the weekly CRT. We have to target this low all down here, which is going for a 14 RR. This is over a big range on the 4-hour time frame. So our first take profit is going to be here, and it's going to be a first and last and final take profit ever. Why? Simple, because we're following the high temperature liquidity, which is bearish overall, but it's Thursday and Friday, so we'll go for take profit. On Thursday and Friday, we only target the range high, range low of the 4-hour CRT or hourly CRT, depending on what we enter on. Then that's it. But today I didn't execute this trade simply because of what? Once again, why didn't I execute this trade? Because the time got tapped. But if the market does go down lower, taps the range low of this, execution range. So right over here, there's our execution range high, range low. And if you could see, overall, for the double purge, which range do I really care about? I care about this execution range. Why? Because this is the range we're using to execute, right? We're not using this range to execute. We're specifically using this range to execute. How come it's not a range? Because it got broken below. So our range is overall this candle, right? So if this candle can get the range don't get supported, and on Monday, supports the range, it goes up higher, I can execute to the downside from the resistance block. Otherwise, I cannot. But this does look like to be some sort of OTE as well. There's no clear signs of there being OTE here, but high, low, higher high, we could have a potential lower low, which didn't get a close yet, but over here we had a lower low. So this is some sort of a hourly OTE. And the daily range is over here. So the market does go over here. I could enter the key level itself, but the only time I enter a OTE in the higher time frame itself, it's if it's a 4-hour OTE. In a 4-hour time frame, there is no such thing as OTE of a high, low, but the market never made a higher high. He made an equal high, but eventually went down lower. But that's what we got here. So market recap: bank holiday, no setups, but we did have a setup here. And yeah, this is GU, and the squad didn't do much. GU didn't do much, just had SMT. So SMT is what potentially pushed to go downside because markets are closing at a fair price, and we definitely need to close in a fair price. We need to close at a weekly time frame. Needs to close, which I was hoping for NFP to be today. It would be much better, right? So the market can move fast, and I could definitely secure the trade. But since it's a bank holiday, it's July 4th, and to those who are American, man, happy July 4th, mate. It's not an American word, but yeah, see you guys later. This is my market recap. Thanks for watching. I gotta go somewhere right now. I gotta go to the masjid. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.